When I made that video about how ridiculously overpriced Pokemon games are recently, I completely forgot to mention a certain game in the retro Pokemon scene, a sort of holy grail of all Pokemon games. One that makes Soul Silver and Black look like pocket change compared to it. Something that pretty much nobody has except either collector bros or people that just got incredibly lucky at the time it came out, and that game is Pokemon Box. Pokemon Box, which was released back in 2003 for the GameCube, isn't exactly a game. It's basically just a storage system for your Ruby and Sapphire Pokemon. It's pretty much a very early predecessor to stuff like Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home, which serve the same purpose that Box does. A place to store your extra Pokemon that you don't necessarily want in your actual game. The reason why it costs upwards of $2,000 is because of how it was sold. Basically, in the US at least, it was quite literally only available in one store in the entirety of the US, that being the Pokemon Center in New York City, which is the Nintendo store nowadays. And that's why copies of this thing are so expensive now, as it was only available for a small window of time in one place in, the entire country. You know how big the US is? We got Rhode Island, Alaska, California, Idaho, the Shadow Zone, Vermont, a lot of places. In Europe and Japan, however, it's not nearly as rare as it is here. In Europe, it was bundled in a Pokemon-themed GameCube pack, called the Pokemon Mega Pack, where it came with a copy of Pokemon Colosseum, a link cable, a memory card, and a copy of Box, which is why a European copy sells for around $150 to $200, and not, $2,000. And in Japan, it's literally dirt fucking cheap there, so there's that. I tried digging to see if it was just a normal retail game, so not just sold in the Pokemon Center, but I couldn't find anything super reliable. There was nothing on Bulbapedia either for it in Japan, so I'm going to trust it was sold in regular shopping malls. Anyways, for the actual content inside the game, there's not much. When first opening up the game, you're asked to link your Game Boy Advance up to your GameCube so it can read and access your Pokemon. After it's all good to go with that, you meet Bridget, the older sister of Lynette, the person who manages the Pokemon storage system in Hoenn. Bridget's actually the same character who manages your storage in Pokemon Home, which I thought was a cool little touch, seeing a Pokemon Bank came out 10 years later, in 2013. The core feature of the game, as said before, is basically just a storage system, so you're able to store your connected save files PC's Pokemon with the internal storage of Pokemon Box. There is a bit more though. Throughout you putting Pokemon into the box, you get multiple rewards. The one you get upon starting the game is an egg, which, when hatched, is a Swablu, which is False Swipe. When putting in 100 Pokemon, you get a Zigzagoon with extreme speed. 500 gets you a Skitty with Payday. And 1,499 deposited Pokemon gets you a Pichu with Surf. So in summary, these rewards aren't worth anything. Sorry, I'm just speaking the truth. At least in Pokemon Bank, they gave you points and stuff that could be used in game, but man, this shit sucks. Plus, you can't transfer that Pichu either, as it's barred from further games, because it knows Surf, which is an HM. After depositing all the Pokemon you want, there's also a showcase mode too, where you can place your Pokemon on a grid to show them off to your hot Deftones GF, I guess. I'm sure she'll love that. You can also change the ground, background, and music too in display mode, so maybe to get the mood right you can play Cherry Waves or something. That'll totally fit the vibe. Honestly, a lot of this reminds me of the trophy display mode in Smash Bros, which I loved as a kid, but without all the really cool trophies, so it's automatically less cooler. Coming out of the main storage mode, there's also Adventure mode, where you're able to play your copy of Ruby or Sapphire on the TV. This option is actually cheaper, at least when it came out, not now, than the Game Boy Player, and serves pretty much the same function. A way to play your game enlarged on the TV instead of your grimy little Game Boy Advance screen. You can't actually play any other Pokemon GBA games, as Box came out before Fire Red, Leaf Green, or Emerald, so it lacks the things needed to run them, as they literally didn't exist yet. Aside for a picture mode, where you can slap different filters on your in-game screenshots, and one different border for completing the national decks. That's it really for this mode. There's nothing really special or anything added on. It's quite literally just a way to play your game on your TV, which would be cool if we were back in 2003. Now we got emulators and shit to play that stuff on. And that's, well, pretty much it really for Pokemon Box. Yeah, that's the whole game covered. $2,000 gone like that. Pokemon Box was never really intended to be a game really. It was just sort of like a novelty thing that the Pokemon Company made back in the day, that under certain circumstances also happens to be rare. It's also the rarest GameCube game, I don't think I mentioned that. And now game collector bros froth at the mouth for it because of its price tag. So I mean, hey, it's probably on par content-wise with Sword and Shield if you think about it. there's not very many uses for it really, even if you love storing your 1500 Winkles in it. I mean, hey, maybe you can wear the game disc on a nice out chain, so you can proudly say you're an owner of Pokemon Box. That's another way to use it. There's just not much to say about it really, and if it wasn't for its insane price tag, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. I just sort of completely forgot to talk about it in my last video, and I wanted to make a quick video right now on it as sort of a complimentary piece. I'd like to thank this commenter here for giving me the idea for it, and also sort of reminding me of its existence again. Pokemon Box basically serves zero purpose now. If you want to transfer your Gen 3 Pokemon over to Diamond and Pearl, all you have to do is have a first generation DS with the GBA slot and transfer them over to Pal Park. I looked into it, and you don't need Box for transferring Pokemon out of Coliseum either. And if you want to play any Gen 3 game, you can just use the Game Boy Player attachment thingy on your GameCube, which is a far cheaper option nowadays. So basically, yeah, this thing serves no purpose. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but it's still an interesting piece of Pokemon history that's not really talked about a ton if you're not in the GameCube collector's space. So if you're a Diamond and Pearl fan and you're sad about your game's price being crazy, at least you're not in the Pokemon Box fandom. All one of them. They gotta be sobbing at that price tag, like goddamn. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you whenever I decide to make another one. See ya.